Hello, my name is Walter Boron. I'm the professor and chair of the Department of Physiology and Biophysics at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland.
Hello, my name is Emile Boulpaep. I'm a professor of cellular and molecular physiology at Yale, and I'm also the director of medical studies and the director of graduate studies in the same department. Well, certainly, if you are in the business of teaching, there's always new stuff that comes up that you say, oh, I could have said it's different, or the student asks you something and say, well, it's not in the book because either because we don't know it yet or because I didn't insert it yet. And so that keeps my curiosity up constantly. I also teach a graduate course which is more advanced, and there very often I find new things that I tell Walter, oh, we should put this in, even though one of our authors may not have thought about it. But of course, novelty also comes from the authors that who revise their text.
I think we're driven to produce the best product that we can, so we spend a lot of time producing the first edition, and then you always see pieces of the book that can be improved, figures that can be improved, language that can be improved, and of course, as we update from the first edition, the second edition, to the third edition, what we tell the authors each time, number one, if there's something that's wrong, let's make it right, so if you made a mistake. Number two, if there's new information that ought to be in the book, we better put it in there. We may have to take something else out to make room for it, but let's get the latest stuff in there. And then if there's something that's not said quite right, if it's confusing, then we ought to try to fix up the language. And then when we get the author's copy of this material, then we go through it. One of the things that we see is that sometimes we don't understand it. Usually that's my job. So he looks at it and says, oh yeah, that's clear enough to me. And I look at it and I say, I don't understand this. I'm the chairman of a department and I don't understand that there's a problem with it. So then he lets me rewrite it. Sometimes as we rewrite it, we realize there's an inconsistency. And I suppose this is where the obsessive compulsive business comes in. So when we see that there's an inconsistency, we try to fix it up by basically lots of Googling, lots of Wikipedia, trying to sort things together, reading the scientific papers. So in case our authors have not seen something correctly, that we try to make sure it's consistent.
And typical also, authors do not know what's in the other chapters. We do, or at least I remember what's in the other chapter. It helps to know everything about the various figures, the various chapters, in order to actually make it mesh. I think that is a very strong point of our book, that we know all the different pieces, how they fit together, that we don't repeat, or that we repeat in a proper way so that it actually meshes.
We generally don't repeat by accident. One of the features of the third edition that you'll see is that there are extensive links from one page to another, or one chapter to another, or from a chapter to web notes, which, by the way, we invented in the first edition. These are electronic footnotes that you can get on the online version or in the Inkling version just by clicking on them. So you can go electronically from one page to another, from one chapter to another, from a page to a web note, from a web note back to a page or a figure, or from one web note to another, then back again. And these links were initially created in the first edition because we wanted to be consistent in our language, consistent in our units, that scientific units that you'd use to describe something, consistent in the numerical examples that we would give for blood pressure or sodium concentration. And so we made these links in the word language, and we would link from one chapter to another just so we could double check ourselves. Yep. And so then these became the links that you saw as page numbers in the first edition, and now in the third edition you'll see as actual electronic links that will take you over the book. I don't think that there's anywhere else in the world of physiology, or probably basic medical sciences, where you'll see such an extensive system of linking that will get you from spot to spot within the book and its web notes. And I think this is a real advantage for people who want to follow something through.
This linking is in the future going to be increasingly important as more and more people will use an electronic version of the book.
And indeed, we don't give references in the body of the textbook, but in the electronic format, at the end of the chapter, there are several references, which I believe in the third edition, people will be able to jump from those reference citations straight into PubMed. And if you have permission, you'll be able to see those articles if indeed a student or a professor more likely is interested in actually reading those articles, you'll be able to jump directly to them. So I think in the world of electronic publishing, we're perfectly poised to take advantage of things optimally. And this didn't happen by accident. It's hundreds and hundreds of hours of creating these links. So that this is not the kind of a job that can be done by a copy editor.